Hey guys, today I want to talk about sustainability from a consumer standpoint, especially how it relates to clothing. I haven't really planned this video out at all. I just have these ideas in my mind that I want to talk about. I'm not really sure how I'm going to organize them. I'm just saying all my thoughts on sustainability, so it's not really organized, but yeah. So I think it's important to be shopping sustainably, especially with clothing, so that it's not wasteful and it's just better for the planet. And I think also when you shop sustainably and put thought into what you're purchasing, it allows you to cherish your clothing more and realize more how what it comes from rather than just buying fast fashion. And it makes you feel more connected to the planet in a way and understand how it works more, if that makes any sense. And so yeah, I've gotten into shopping sustainably probably like a year or a year and a half ago. I started being more conscious. I've still made some purchases that are not the most ethical and sustainable, but I'm going to talk about those and why I still purchased them. Um, and yeah. So, one of the purchases that I made that wasn't the most ethical or sustainable was my bell bottoms that I got. They're the Free People brand, and I got them from Belk. And I knew that I was going to wear them forever, and I really liked them. So, that's why I bought them anyways, because it's not like it's fast fashion, because I'm not just gonna throw them away when they're not trendy anymore, because I bought them not because they're on trend, but because I love them and I'm gonna keep wearing them forever. And if they don't fit, I'll save them or donate them. Um, so I think there are times when it's okay to make an exception when you have put thought into it. But I realized afterwards that I could have looked for them on ThredUp, or there's other thrift stores online like Mercari or Depop. I haven't bought from those before, but I've heard of them. And I realized that could have been a good thing to do, but I didn't realize that until after the fact. But yeah, if you ever want a certain product, you could always look on online thrift stores, because sometimes they even have them new with tags. Sometimes they're used, but they're still in good condition. I just got a pair of jeans from ThredUp, and I'm gonna make a short about styling them. But yeah, it's always good to look on online thrift stores for things. And I also wanted to talk about levels of sustainability. Um, and so I feel like obviously the most unsustainable and unethical, sustainability and ethicality, if that's the form of the word, like ethicalness, those are obviously different things. I feel like sustainability is more about how it affects the planet and if it's sustainable, if you were to keep making it, is it gonna impact the earth negatively type of thing. Whereas ethicalness or ethicality is more about if they use child labor or things like that, which oftentimes if clothing is cheap, then they might use unpaid child labor or whatever, and use cheaper resources that are more negative for the earth. um, so they're different. Ethicality and sustainability are different things, but oftentimes it's they both play into products. Um, so, anyways, obviously, fast fashion places like Shein or Shein, however you pronounce it, are obviously, I said obviously twice, but those are the lowest sustainable places to buy from. They have the least amount of sustainability. Um, and then places like regular stores, like at the mall, like American Eagle and H&M. And I feel like brands like Nike and Adidas and stuff, those are all, I mean, I haven't looked far into their ethics, but most regular stores like that are probably better than places like Shein, and they're more quality. But they're still, usually when places don't advertise their sustainability and good ethics, that means that they don't um, have good practices a lot of the time. I'm not saying 100%, but a lot of the time. So those are better, I would say, than, fast fashion, but they're still not the best. And a way that I would say, like when you're shopping, to know if it's someplace ethical and sustainable, is you could always Google the shop and then put like ethics after it, and if they have an ethics page, it'll come up. But what I do usually is I'll go to websites and I click on like the menu, and usually it's got like the sections of clothing, and then sometimes at the bottom it'll have about, or our story or sustainability or something. And oftentimes if stores don't have that section, that to me is a giveaway that they're not the best place to buy from. And then if they do, I like to read into it, and some places are just like, they say where they source their materials, and some places don't go that far. They just say, like, my friend and I started this business out of our garage, and now it's grown, and it's like, they don't always talk about how they source the materials, but it's, that it's still better than supporting a corporation. So yeah, I guess the next thing that I wanted to talk about was, I feel like the next level of ethicalness is, buying from those shops that have good sustainability and ethics, especially when clothing is made of like hemp or what's the other, eucalyptus, or recycled things, especially like for a lot of like bathing suits, they use like recycled materials, like recycled nylon, polyester, I think, because I don't think you can really make swimwear out of things like hemp and eucalyptus because it's not the right type of material. So I think shopping from shops with good ethics is a good thing to do. But if you wanted to be even more sustainable, I would say like only thrifting or buying vintage clothes would be the best, because it has no impact on the environment because it doesn't require new materials. Like obviously if you're buying online, it's still being shipped, but in my opinion, that's not a big deal because things are getting shipped anyways, and it's just going on a truck with other stuff, so you purchasing it isn't having a negative impact because the truck that shipped it was already going to be shipping something. So I don't think that's really a negative thing. But because the clothing is already made, it's already been used, so it doesn't require more material to be made. So that would be like the best way to shop, is secondhand, whether it's just thrifting things that are fairly new or if it's vintage. Yeah, so those are like the levels of sustainability, I feel like. And I also wanted to talk about how I feel like if you buy something that's not, maybe the best thing to buy, how you shouldn't feel guilty about the purchase. So if you buy something that was maybe not from the most sustainable place, I feel like, the fact that you're aware of it means that you're trying, and it's definitely better than, just constantly buying fast fashion. So I think as long as you're trying, you're good to go. And if you just buy a couple of things that are not from the most sustainable places, I feel like overall it's insignificant, especially if you're trying and are most of the time buying from good shops or thrifting. It's like a couple of things is pretty insignificant. And yeah, I mean, if you're constantly buying from places, then you're like adding to their demand going up, which is just making them use more resources and have more work be put into it. So, it's especially the constant buying from things that is bad. And if you just buy a couple of things, I think it's all right, and you shouldn't feel guilty because you're trying. Like I bought a pack of socks from Target the other day because we were out and we were at Target and I needed socks, so I just bought them because I wasn't gonna like go find the most ethical pair of socks online when it was only a few dollars, and it's not something that I like purchase all the time. You know what I mean? So yeah, that is my thought on that. Yeah, I would say I think it's more difficult with shoes to be more ethical and sustainable because I don't really know of any shoe places that advertise their sustainability. So what I would say is just make sure you're buying shoes that you'll wear a long time. Obviously, like if you're younger and you're growing, you can't really help it that you grow out of your shoes. So I would just say make sure that you're donating them, and passing them down in your family and not just like throwing them away and having them end up in a landfill. But yeah, just make sure that you're buying things that you know you love and you're not buying it because it's just trendy. Obviously, if it's trendy and you love it, then that's good as long as you don't think you're gonna grow out of it when it's out of season or whatever. Just yeah, making sure that it's gonna last you and stuff like that. I think something that's hard also to buy from sustainable places are like workout clothes and bathing suits. Also, for me, like dance clothes. There's not a lot of places that sell like where they specialize in that. Like, there's plenty of regular clothing websites and also thrift places. But I mean, you can, but in my opinion, thrifting bathing suits and like dance clothing, especially like I don't know, it's kind of not the thing that I would want to wear secondhand. Because you like, I don't know, it's if you can only afford that, I think it's all right, but I would rather not wear secondhand bathing suits and like tights and leotards. And there's not very many places that sell sustainably made ones, at least for cheap, because I found some bathing suit places, but they're pretty expensive. So I have to make sure that I find one that I really like, because I'm not going to spend, $100 on a bathing suit just to not like next year. Yeah, like it can be difficult when things are really expensive, um, because there's just not a lot of, I keep using my hands like this, but there's just not a lot of like sustainable bathing suits or dance clothing websites. So it can be difficult because the ones that are there are expensive. So I would just say make sure that you're buying one that you like because it's expensive and you're not going to just want to replace one all the time because you're tired of it. And I think, like I was saying earlier, if you just buy a couple of things, it's pretty insignificant. So, like, if you can't afford a $100 bathing suit, which is understandable, and you buy a $20 one from Target because you know that you like it and you think you'll wear it until it doesn't fit or something like that anymore, then I think that's okay because you're trying and it's kind of difficult. And like with dance clothing, there's like no places that I've really found that have sustainably made ones, or at least that advertise their sustainability. So that's difficult. So like if I bought one leotard that I really like, then from like a regular store, I think that's okay because in the grand scheme of things, like a consumer's purchases aren't what mostly contributes to harming the environment. It's mostly corporations. So I would actually even say that a place having good ethics and not using like child labor is more important than their sustainability, in my opinion, because if a place is using sustainable fabrics but they use child labor, the consumer has a more direct impact on the child labor because they're creating more demand. Whereas the sustainability, as important as it is, it's like a consumer purchase, I feel like it's not going to affect the environment so much, especially not compared to corporations. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so I think that's all I really have to say about that topic. So yeah, I just think it's important to remember that you should always try your best to be sustainable and buying from ethical stores, but not to stress too much because as a consumer, there's only so much that you can do. But I think it's good too because you can at least know that you're not contributing to the problem, and you can help convince other people to shop that way as well and get more people on that page. And maybe we can change the way that things work and like corporations will be more conscious and things like that. And yeah, that's what I think about that. So